What is going on, guys? Predator458 here, and welcome back to my channel. Today, as I sit and record this video, it is Thursday, the 25th of June, which means that tomorrow, Friday the 26th, patch 0.40 will be hitting the live server for World of Warships, and with it, all of our accounts, everyone who was in closed beta, we will all start from the beginning. This is one of the very final steps towards the release of open beta and opening the floodgates for all of you new players. Now this video, there'll be about 3 of them or so in this little series. This is dedicated to those new players who are just about to get their first taste of World of Warships. And let me tell you guys, if you have an itch for naval combat that hasn't been scratched, this game is going to do just that for you. It really is a hell of a lot of fun. Now, this first video, I'm going to basically, well, let me just say that these few series of videos, I'm going to just quickly look at all of the different ship classes, talk to you a bit about them, how to use them, what their strengths and weaknesses are, how they differ between nations, and basically, so what you can expect from the ship classes that you will be able to choose from once you get into open beta. Now, tomorrow being Friday, my DCS World video is going to go up. I'll probably upload these over the weekend and set them to go live just before open beta is available. So if you are a veteran to the game, probably not the video for you. This is just for, as I said, for the new people who are just about to get their first taste of World of Warships. So for my first video, we are going to look at the biggest, baddest ships in the game. We're going to look at the battleships, which is something that I think everyone is going to be, or a lot of players are going to be keen to try out and keen to get into. But just because they're big, bad mamma jammers doesn't mean that they are the gods of the sea and, you know, you're going to rule everything and fear nothing. As you can see, I did make it to tier 10, to the Montana for America. Japan, I only got up to tier 7 because then I kind of switched over to the American line. But yeah, let's have a quick look at the battleship tech tree and we'll start talking a little bit about what you can expect from them. They start at tier 3. With America, you get the South Carolina. With Japan, you get the Kawachi. These two ships are very, very similar. Let's go back to the American one and let's have a look at some of the stats. As you can see, maximum speed is only 18 knots, which is pathetic. It's very horrible. The guns, 305mm, maximum firing range of 10.2 kilometers. One thing I will say with battleships is give them a chance. Don't try the first and second battleships for either nations and go, no, these things are, I don't like these things. Battleships really kick off at tier 5 for Japan. America, yeah, it's different playstyle, take a bit longer, I think. But I mean, just let's quickly go to the tier 5 Japanese battleship. 356mm guns, 14 inches, maximum range 21.2 kilometers. This is when, this is a battleship for me, you know. Maximum speed 30 knots, so this is one of the fastest battleships in the game. There are a few faster. Iowa can do 31 knots. I think Amagi is also pretty quick. But the first 2 battleships for both lines aren't all that great. They can take a lot of punishment, they can do big damage, but they're slow. One thing I will say for them is, you know, they can take a lot of punishment and they can deal some serious damage to enemy ships. You do have to be wary that the guns on all battleships take a long time to reload. You're looking at 30 seconds or so on average. Some are even a bit longer, some are shorter, with some of the upgrades that you can purchase, like the Iowa and the Montana. Just go to that. They get this one, so that shortens your reload to about 26 seconds, but you've really got to make those shots count. As for the different play styles between the American and the Japanese battleships, the tier 3 and tier 4 are pretty similar between the two of them. That their gun range isn't that long, so that you kind of do have to get up close and personal. But from tier 5 they split off and go their separate ways, and only at tier 8, I'd say, do they reunite. Let's have a look. Tier 5 American battleship, the New York. Let's have a quick look at her. 356mm gun, so same as the Congo, 14 inches. But her maximum fire range is 15.6 kilometers compared to the, 21 of the Congo. She's also a hell of a lot slower at 21 knots, but her armor is better. She's more of a brawling ship, getting up close and personal, soaking up the damage with her armor, not taking too many penetrating hits, and dealing big damage. However, if you come up against a Congo or something else that's faster than you, which is going to be a lot of things, unfortunately you do kind of need to, the enemy player needs to allow you to close distance, because with a speed of 21 knots you ain't catching anything. Whereas compared to the Japanese battleships, they're more, standoffish, longer range guns, stayed range. However, I wouldn't recommend firing at your maximum range all the time, because RNG is quite heavy in this game. If you don't know what that is, that's basically just the term used to describe the randomness in the game, that you can fire one turret and the shells will have a very tight grouping, and the very next barrage that you fire, the next turret that you fire at the exact same spot, there's a much wider spread. So that's RNG, it's just the randomness in the shots. Nothing you can do about it. And at the longer the range, the more the RNG will hurt you and cause a bigger spread on your shells. Typically though, I would suggest that with battleships, especially at the beginning of a match, you don't get into any close quarters fighting. Like, you don't go into any small little island chains or anything like that. You want to try and stay a little bit far out in open water more than going in between islands, because in between islands, that's where destroyers love to hunt. They love to lurk there, and a nice spread of torpedoes will really ruin your day, and you can cause a premature exit to the port very, very quickly. But yes, as I was saying, the American battleships, better armor. I think their guns are generally a little bit more accurate, as in the maximum spread of their shells is a little lower than the Japanese guns. But they're generally more brawlers if you can close the distance. This changes then at tier 8 with the North Carolina. Previous to this ship, all of the ships in game were built before the Washington and London naval treaties. So after that happened, everything was limited. And then the North Carolina was the first American battleship that was built after the treaties expired, so they could do something completely different and adopt a more normal, more mainstream doctrine for their battleship design. So with the North Carolina, you finally have long-range guns, 23 kilometers. You have good speed, 28 knots. You're more similar now to a Japanese battleship. And that then carries on with the Iowa and the Montana. And it's basically, it's the same type of play style that you've had since tier 5 with the Congo. But battleships are a lot of fun. You do have to be careful. You have to watch out for destroyers. You have to watch out for aircraft carriers and their torpedo bombers. And you also have to watch out for cruisers. I'll speak about this again in the cruiser video, but one thing that a good cruiser captain will do is he will stay at his maximum gun range, which will be about 15 kilometers or so, and he will fire at you from that range and keep that range at 15 kilometers. If you fire at him, he's going to have enough time to dodge most, if not all of your shells, while he's going to constantly be able to fire on you and set you on fire and deal with you that way. So you're not invincible. Everything pretty much can kill you. The biggest threat though is torpedoes, whether they're from the enemy aircraft carriers or destroyers. So you do kind of want to stick with your team. Try and get a couple of cruisers to come with you, especially tier 6 and above, because that's when their anti-aircraft defensive perk becomes available to them. And cruisers are very good at dealing with destroyers and helping to cover you from enemy air attack. But everyone will develop their own style. You guys will all figure this out. You can go lone wolf, and sometimes it's going to work out for you. Most times it's not. But generally, also as one of the advantages almost that the American battleships have is because they got the lower range on their guns, they need to close the distance, which is going to allow their cruiser support to also fire on the enemy. Nothing is more irritating than covering a Japanese battleship who refuses to get within 18 kilometers of an enemy vessel, and if you stick with him and you cover him, you can't do anything yourself. So that's kind of a good thing for like the tier 7 or lower American battleships, is their cruiser support is going to be able to fire at the same time as they are. But yeah, I mean, battleships are a lot of fun. They're probably my most played class in the game, as you can see by the fact that I got to the Montana, although I did use a bit of money to help speed up the process. But give them a chance, because as I said, the tier 3 and tier 4 battleships are not that great. Tier 5, they start getting better, especially for the Japanese. The first American battleship that I really liked was the tier 6 New Mexico. First time you get triple turrets, or triple guns in your turrets, and this was pretty good fun, although your range is still fairly limited, 15 kilometers. However, there is this upgrade to boost that to by 16%, so I think that did give me a range of around about 17 kilometers, which is much more useful. But anyways, I think that is pretty much it, the most important basics for the battleship class. As I say, give it a chance, it will get better. And once you start to get a hang of it, and you can start getting those citadel hits on enemy vessels and start doing massive damage, I think you'll really start to enjoy them. But anyways, I think that is it from me for this video on battleships. If you enjoyed, please feel free to hit the thumbs up button down below, and maybe consider subscribing for more World of Warships and War Thunder content. It really helps me out and gives me a lovely warm fuzzy feeling inside. But yeah, as I said, that is it for this video. Check back for the cruiser video, which should go live at a similar time to this one. But anyways, that is it from me. This is Predator 458 signing off, and I'll see you guys next time.